name is Allie, and welcome to Funny Fat Friend, a podcast about this bodacious biracial babe trying to find herself in film. Today I'm joined by a hottie whose hair I just dyed before recording this, and it didn't work. But we're learning! He's a culture connoisseur. He's the funniest person in our group text. And I think...
There's only 2 people in that group text.
I think he may be a full-on certified expert on this film that we're talking about today. My guest is my gorgeous pal, Orlando. Thank you for letting me sit in your home with you.
Of course. Thank you for coming over and actually taking the time to bleach the hair and then trying that gray dye.
It did not work.
That didn't stick, you know. But we're quarantined, so nobody ever gets to see this.
No one will see it unless
I guess
you let them
wait
see it.
another week and try again.
Yeah.
Because I am going to try again.
Yeah, this will come out after you probably will look great. So it'll be great. Nobody will know.
I got time to figure it out. Yeah.
All right, so Orlando, when you watch movies, do you feel like you're able to see yourself or like identify with characters in the movies that you see?
A lot of times, no. I do identify with certain scenes, but to say that, like, oh, I identify with certain types of characters or genres, things like that, no.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, because we're both people, we're minorities. This is a podcast. You can't see what we look like.
Right, let's start with that. So, I mean, a little bit of my background. Why wouldn't I identify with what's out there? Well, I'm Mexican. I grew up in California. I navigate the pop culture in the U.S., but also Latin America. I speak Spanish. There's just a lot that, the way that I see the world, that just isn't portrayed in pop culture, in films. And so, of course, there are scenes where, like, there's, you know, certain relationships that are universal. And when I see that, I'm the first one to cry when those scenes come up. But for the most part, no, I don't go to the theaters and think, wow, that's exactly how my childhood was, or that I see my parents that way, or my siblings. That doesn't happen.
I'm going to actually say that this movie that we're going to talk about today is the most relatable movie that I've done so far for the podcast. I think, like, hands down, easily. It's also the most modern movie that I've done. So we can say that the times are changing. So the movie that we're going to talk about today is from 2019, and it's the smash hit Hustlers. It had a budget of $20.7 million, and it made $157.6 million at the box office.
That's incredible.
It was a smash hit, and I'm so happy for it being a smash. And Orlando and I saw it on opening day. Yes. We went to the movies, a whole group of pals.
I made sure that happened.
Yeah, we bought our tickets like weeks in advance.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm not playing with this. Pick your seat.
It wasn't even close to being sold out. But it was fun. It was really fun to see in the theater. And it was really awesome rewatching it. Like, holds up. If not more, I definitely got more on the second viewing. And I really love when a movie is able to do that. Okay, so we've already kind of started talking about it, but let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's go through this breakdown. Right from the start, this movie is pretty interesting because it has, I don't know if it's a cliche to start with like a based on a true story or inspired by true events or whatever sort of thing. But it moves through it really quickly. It's like kind of just flashes on screen. And then we get Constance Wu sitting in front of a mirror, kind of getting ready. And you get the context of all these girls behind her, all these bodies, that sort of thing, all these women in these dance costumes, super, like, hot, but it's not very sexualized already.
Not at all.
They're working.
No.
Like,
yeah.
like
it's all work. Yeah, exactly. That's the right word, I think, working.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I picked up.
And the music in this movie is incredible.
This so much fun.
Is amazing. The first thing, no dialogue, the first thing we hear is that Janet Jackson song. Control is the first thing. Exactly, that's the first thing you hear.
Control. And the rest, it just sets the film, right?
It is. It's so impactful. Like, it gave me chills. And it also sets the stage. We watch her, like, get up and move around, and we see the other women. It does this, which was really impactful and incredible to me, was that every time you see a woman, the way the camera frames her is never looking down at her. you never look down on a woman in this movie, which is something that, like, people don't think about a lot. Like, it's so ingrained in, like, the way we think of status and that sort of thing. It's like, the way a camera looks at somebody is imposing a status on them. Mm-hmm. And so, like, thinking of, like, Alfred Hitchcock, super sexist, awful man. But, like, in every movie, whenever you see a woman anywhere, even if she's not even talking to a man, if you just, like, see her somewhere, the camera is kind of angled down, looking down at her. And it's a status thing. But that was, like, right off the bat, I noticed that on the second viewing, that I was like, oh, yes. Like, you're never looking down on a woman. Even in the pits of this movie, like, when there are questionable things these women do, it's from a place of, like, you know, everybody's on equal playing field status-wise. If anything, you look up at them a lot. But yeah, that was something in the establishing shot that really spoke out to me. I was like, yes!
Yes!
But yeah, like, A.O. Scott, she's a film reviewer. She wrote, like, a super long article that we had to read in, like, our film studies class. Shout out Stacey Peebles from Center. Taught me all this stuff about film. But yeah, the male gaze is, like, so ingrained into filmmaking that Hustlers, like, pretty much just, like, tears up every idea of, like, how you're supposed to make film, especially, like, with women in the lead. Like, what should it look like? It's so good.
It helps. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was written and directed by a woman,
Exactly.
Maria. So I think it shows that, because you could have a cast full of women, even diverse cast of women the way that Hustlers is, but if it had been directed by a man, you wouldn't have seen these women as just people and that are running the show, that are making decisions, that are central characters, that aren't being looked down. Had it been directed, I think, by anyone other than a woman.
Yeah, I always like to think, like, it is tough. I like to have the optimistic idea that anyone can tell any story, right? Because, like, art. But I think, yeah, being informed, because there's not enough experience and, like, actual, like, the chance being given to enough women to do it, then, yeah, I think a woman should be telling a woman's story until we are on an actual, like, equal playing field where all art is equal. I think, yeah, I lean towards thinking, yes, a woman making this movie is better than if a man had done it. Just, like, equality-wise. But yeah, so let's... Already I've talked about one moment of the movie, and I've gone on this major tangent of how much it's amazing. But yeah, we talked about Constance Wu is one of the main characters. Her name is Dorothy. Her stage name is Destiny. Which I kind of wish we got more into, like, all these women's chosen names and, like, what that, like, kind of means about them. Which, like, we could probably talk for 100 hours about what Destiny means as Constance Wu's name. But I think that would have been pretty fun. But the movie is already 2 hours long, so maybe get a docuseries. HBO. Give them a series where we find out all these women's backstories, please. That would be so good. Destiny is the new girl in the club, and so the women all kind of parade out through the strip club, and the DJ, I noticed this on the second time, that he makes a very big point of his line, talks about how they have new ATMs, and that they accept every type of credit card, and so it's like foreshadowing into, there's gonna be some credit card fraud. It was pretty heavy-handed, like, watching it the second time.
I completely missed that.
Yeah, it's like, we're 1 minute in.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, you know. But that was fun. And I wrote down, I don't know I do know what it was, but when I was a kid, I wanted to be a strip club DJ. And when I say when I was a kid, I mean, like, 13 years old.
I was wondering how you identified with this movie so much, you said in the beginning. Now I understand.
I wanted to be Big J Okerson, the strip club DJ.
It's not too late.
Bad. It's not, yeah. Dreams still come true. Yeah, I just lost my job, so any strip clubs listening to my podcast, hire me.
In the Kentucky Anna area, specifically.
I don't know. Maybe I'll move for this dream.
Oh, okay.
Anywhere. But yeah, and they identify her as the new girl, so she gets this like little moment where she twirls around the pole a little bit. Mm-hmm. When they like branch out, all the women kind of go out into the crowd and are mingling. We get immediate gross man. He's like, "Hey, Lucy Lou, come give my friend a dance," and it was just like,
I thought, yeah, it was such a real moment. The fact that they called her Lucy Lou.
Yeah.
I've been to a few strip clubs long time ago. when I still went to strip clubs with the guys, you could see that. I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, it's like this. What I think of it, and I think what a lot of people think of it is like this. Not like a club, like a place of debauchery, but like I don't know. Yeah, that there's like no holds bars. It's like
it's a place of fantasy.
Yeah.
So Lucy Lou is it's derogatory, it's stereotypical, and it's fits a specific fantasy for these men.
Yeah, and this thing that they can get away with, that there's no ramifications. There's no.
The girl's still gonna show up, and she's still gonna give you the lap dance, even if you call her Lucy Lou. She's gonna grin and give you the lap dance.
Yeah. So that that kind of hit me in my gut, and it made me think about. Of course, I was like. It's 2019, and, like, this is, like, Constance Wu's second major role, because there's not enough representation in film. Which is what this whole podcast is about! And that's insane, because, like, she's a powerhouse. She's super great. It's just there should be more massive roles for all people of color and all different identities and that sort of thing. Because... we like these stories. You can tell by how much money this movie made.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, we had that cute racism. And we get a probably like the saddest montage I've ever seen of just like sad lap dances.
Yeah.
Just so unsexy. Just gross, man. And her bummed out. We also get to see Cardi B for the first time because Destiny is trying to like talk to some guy near the stage, and Cardi is dancing on the stage and pulls her hair and is like, "Move, bitch." But Cardi B has these insane pasties on. They're like
on these insane boobs.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Don't make like physical sense.
No,
like, physics can't attest for how they were up. They were so perky and large. I don't know. But, like, good for her. Whatever works, that's what she wants. They look amazing.
Oh, yeah. They looked amazing on screen. She, like, was owning it.
Yeah. And her outfit was so very weird, though. It was just these giant, gaudy crystals over her nipples. And then, like, a high panty.
Corset?
Yeah, it was it was pretty covered up.
Yeah,
she was
like
pretty covered up except
something was interesting.
Yoga pants. That would have been great. That's a fantasy. Yeah, if Cardi B showed up in my house in yoga pants and crystal pasties, I'd be in. I'd be like, sure, yeah. And she's like, the club owner is terrible to her and like stiffs her money, and then Creepy Man McCreep. I don't even know who the guy is, but he's like.
Does he even have a name?
I don't know. They yell at him several times, but nobody. I don't understand what he does. He like is like a bodyguard or something. I don't know, but he takes a cut of the money too. He's just a bad guy. Guys are bad. And she goes home, and we like see her home life, which is like her sweet grandmother, who she like tries to give all her money to and is trying to take care of. And her grandmother has like sold her necklace, obviously, or something to like kind of try and pay the bills. It's like heartbreaking. But she's also lying to her grandmother and says she works at a diner.
Right.
Oh. And so it's a bummer. This movie opens on sad. But then it really, really turns around because she goes in, is having a bad time, and we meet Ramona.
That's how the DJ says her name when she comes out.
Yes, DJ's not very sexy. I don't think he's a very great hype man, but whatever. I'd be a better hype man. but Ramona comes out, played by Jennifer Lopez.
And this is why I'm here.
It's true. Orlando is a full Jennifer Lopez expert through and through.
I think they call us stans. I'm a J lover.
Oh, is that what they're called?
That's what Jennifer Lopez fans are. Yes.
J lover.
Yeah.
Lover. J lover.
J lovers. Yeah.
Ooh. J-Lo is unbelievably sexy. I confidently can say that this scene is the hottest thing I've ever seen at a movie theater.
I was like hitting my seat when she came out. And I was like, oh my god. And then it builds up with the freaking criminal playing in the background. And it just builds and builds. And then all of a sudden, like, she climbs the pole and then comes down upside down and then twirls and like has her backside against some guy's face. And I'm just like, oh my god. I'm a huge Jennifer Lopez fan. I've seen all of her movies. I follow her online. I bought all of her albums. Like, seen her live in Vegas and other concerts. So I'm like, I know her, and to see her literally stripped down like that, I was freaking out. I couldn't believe it. I thought I had seen everything. When you're a big fan, you think, oh, I've seen it all. I won't be surprised. At this point, like, you just enjoy everything about them. I was shook. I couldn't believe it.
It was, inarguably extremely impressive. Like, the Fiona Apple song, the music is so genius.
Oh my god.
In this movie.
Perfect.
It is so genius. Yeah, the music is so incredible because it not only, like, is, like, I don't know, like, just nice to hear in the background, but, like, the lyricism mirroring the visual you're seeing, it's like, her dancing the criminal, and then, spoiler, you guys, she's a criminal.
Not yet. Oh, well, not yet.
But it is. It is. It's so smart.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, everyone who made this film was just so smart. And obviously loved it. Like, we're so excited and just, like, fully loved. You could tell everybody involved with this name just, like, loved it so much. And that's, like, creates really great art. But, yeah, it's so beautiful. But, oh my god, so sexy. She is wearing this, like, I don't even know. It's, like, held together, like, by one strap. It's just these tiny crystal straps around her body. And everything's out, pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, the athleticism is insane. And the way the costume fits her, too, is only extenuating, like, just, like, how muscular she is, even. Not just, like, her body is incredible, but it's also, like, incredible to see her muscle, like, the strength she has to pull this thing off is super, super duper hot. She could throw me across the room, I'm confident. Jennifer Lopez could.
That scene, it's so powerful that obviously a lot of people referred to it when it was coming out, and even after it came out, it got a lot of attention. It was almost like it got too much attention, because then if people only thought about that scene, whether they liked it or not, they didn't get the movie that they thought they were going to get from that specific scene.
Oh yeah,
because it's not it's a movie about strippers, and it's not about stripping. I thought when, like, cast was out there promoting the movie, and when even in the reviews that I was reading, a lot of them referred to that scene and went back to that and just a lot of praise for Jennifer Lopez, which she deserves. But I thought it may have drawn away from, like, the rest of the story, which is just, as powerful.
Yeah. I think I see that for sure. Especially, like, when you take it out of, like, the movie itself and, like, in contextualizing with, like, the fanfare is the word I'm looking for, around it, and, like, that's the thing that kind of stuck out to people a lot, because it is like awe-inspiring. Like, I will think about it forever, probably, her body and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was very smart, though, to put it immediately in the movie, like, right away, to kind of set the scene of, okay, if this is what you thought you were going to get at this movie, here it is, but we have an hour and 40 minutes left. So,
right. Yeah,
to
that's true.
Like, kind of, like, okay, this is the movie you thought you were going to see, and yes, we're going to give you the most spectacular scene you could get of that movie, and then we're going to get into the heart of it also.
Right.
Which I thought was really cool. I think it was a smart marriage of, like, the getting people in seats to want to see J-Lo strip, but then to, like, turn it on its head.
Oh, yeah, like, don't remove the scene. It's a
no.
highlight. I'm just, yeah, I just hope that a lot of people, that would have seen the movie and didn't see it because they thought it was just going to be a stripper movie because of that scene, give it another chance. Also, can I say, this is Jennifer Lopez's best scene since the opening dance music scene from Selena, where she also is choreographed and just, like, is gritty.
Selena. Also, we watched part of Selena today. A lot of J-Lo all the time in this house.
A lot of it.
But she also she clacks her heels on the stage. Oh
my god!
She like does like a split over her own head and clacks her heels on the stage. Okay, that was the last thing I'll say about
That's
that.
real too. If you go to a strip club, the girls
they clack it. Yeah, I know.
Stilettos like that, and they clack. Clack is the word. Yeah. That's right.
And she comes off the stage and passes Destiny in the crowd and says to her, "Doesn't money make you horny?" And it was, oh my god, it's just so hot. And it's not like a magnificently written line.
Not at all.
But like, yeah, it's amazing. She goes and finds Ramona, like, on the roof. They're in New York, and they're you can just go on roofs in New York. That's a thing. And but she's out there smoking, and so Dorothy comes out and is, like, trying to talk to her. And we get this really beautiful visual of Ramona, like, extending comfort to her and, like, being kind to her, and literally puts her under her wing. Like, we get that visual of she opens up her coat and lets her come and sit with her. She wraps herself around her. And that's like a really also like famous visual like mother motif. You see it in a lot of Catholic art because I'm a fucking nerd. You see it a lot with like Jesus and Mary. Yeah, it is that visual, like, genius. This director everybody involved is a genius that made this movie. But it's really this, you learn so much about their relationship or what their relationship is going to be within a couple moments of just Jennifer Lopez being kind. Even in the context of what kindness means is that I'm going to teach you how to be a really good stripper and make a bunch of money. But it's sweet. And yeah, they start to train together and become partners. But right after they meet and like decide that they're gonna start training together and stuff, we get the frame story kind of what's going on. We get brought into, like, I think it was 2014, which is the woman who wrote the news article that the movie is based on is interviewing Dorothy in like present day about everything that happened. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to like time shift like that. And I was a little wary at first because frame stories in movies, usually I don't like them because they're a lot of movies I use them as like a kind of like a easy twist kind of thing or a way to like tie up loose ends without trying very hard. And the first scene with them kind of feels like that, just like a weird contextualization of it, kind of
takes you away from the movie that's happening in the strip club.
And it's Julia Stiles, and I was like, oh, Save the Last Dance.
Oh, no.
That's all I can think about. I should do that movie. I need somebody to do that movie with me. What a wild movie. But it does give more of a depth, because you see Dorothy in a way that you don't in the movie to this point, of like, she's just like this sad, kind of a mess of a person, like trying to make it, but like obviously life is difficult. And then you get that visual of her in a really nice house in 2014 and kind of like on edge and like,
you're like, right, she's clearly found some sort of wealth or money where she's comfortable, but you can tell that inside there's a lot of conflict still.
Yeah, it's so that I thought was interesting, and so I was like, maybe okay, we'll see how this goes. She says that Ramona was always in control, and so we get that back. The control is everything in this movie, and made me think about strippers in a different way. But yeah, I never thought stripping was a profession to be seen as like less than or negative or whatever, but I know that it is by a lot of people, and it was definitely humanizing.
I mean, right?
Everything in this movie definitely humanizes that profession.
You had, I mean, these women. I mean, just you have the young girl who became a stripper and her family. Said,
Lily Reinhardt.
Yeah, Lily Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Oh, you're out of the house. You're not part of this family, and she's kind of in the corner crying.
Right. Yeah, we get that image of like that. This is not something okay. Which I, like, growing up, one of my mom's friends was a stripper, and she was a cool lady. And I remember, she would, like, babysit me, and I'd brush out her wigs for her. Like,
it's part of the strip routine? Strip the hair?
Yeah, but, like, then it wasn't, like, it was never, like, given to me in a negative way. I knew what it was.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's an entertainer. I get...
If more of us saw it that way, and our cities and our governments did that, that would be the primary role of a stripper. But because they're outcasts in this industry, I think they're more prone to find themselves in abusive situations.
Right, yeah, it's because it's unsafe. It's because we're not taking care of them in the way that we should. We're not respecting it as a profession.
Right.
So there's...
And then if the drugs are involved and the physical or sexual abuse are involved, and that's what we see and we pick up on, and we think, oh, that's a stripper. That's what comes with the territory.
You're seeing the
but it's like a certain right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah. So sex work is real work.
Yeah, let's respect them.
Take care of our strippers, man. With the Julia Stiles scene, we get that. I really like that line of Ramona was always in control. And then we get them training together. It goes back into the story. And I really love, again, the music. I think every 2 minutes I'm going to talk about the music. But she's showing her different moves on the pole, and they score it with, like, a famous Chopin song. So we're getting this classical music playing while she is showing us these extremely athletic and, like, beautiful, impressive moves on this pole, right? Of kind of, I guess it's not forcing us to, it's not forcing anybody to see it as like what it should be, but that it is. It's a beautiful performance. It's like you think of like classical music as classy and nice, and so when you put that up against like this image of like a stripper, but if you're just stripping it back, and watching like her body move and like the way it works to the music. It's genius. It's so smart. It is. It's
magical. I thought it was magical, that scene with the music.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And just the movement and how effortless she just performs and is talking as she's doing these really difficult moves on a pole. I thought it was so magical. Yeah,
and she's so encouraging too to Destiny of like Destiny the whole time is like, I can't do any of those things. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I don't have those muscles. And she's like, every woman has these muscles. And things like that. Just like these like little like powerful like, yes, yes, women moment constantly. And we get Cardi B again shows up to kind of help out, which it was really fun. It was cool to see because Cardi B like famously was a stripper and is now like a rapper and has never once been like, I'm ashamed of like having done that or anything like that. Of being like, an advocate for like, this is a profession, like this is a thing. And it's like, no, always be a thing. People want this, so. But it was cool to see her and like they genuinely all have fun together and you can see that like. I can watch really great actors all the time, but like they're genuinely like being together. You can tell these women just are having a good time together, right. And I thought it was really sweet, and I like it a lot.
And it was cool. What I liked about that scene is that it was shot during the day, so all this natural light's coming into the strip club.
Yeah.
So they're, like you said, they're completely without makeup, just having girl fun, one-on-one, you know?
Yeah, it's really sweet.
Like what goes on in the strip club at night is not necessarily what's going on during the day, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to see that, like, strip back kind of. Man, there's so many puns in this.
I was like, was that on purpose?
Puns. No, I'm sorry. So we go back into this dressing room, and we see Lizzo. Lizzo is here, and she's playing the flute, which is cute. And you know that she just did that because she wanted to, and they didn't ask her to.
Is that what you felt? That's funny. Was that your takeaway?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I get in this movie?
Hello.
Okay.
I was very happy. Yeah, because it does nothing. It doesn't add anything.
Not at all. Where Cardi's character, like, there's a, you know, she's got lines there, and she's moving the plot forward.
She's there because she's great, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But we get another like montage of J-Lo teaching her with all the different kinds of men that you like can interact with, and I thought that was really cool. And it was like kind of turning on the head the idea of like thinking of like classifying animals and that sort of thing. Kind of is what it felt like.
Well, it felt like they were in a zoo.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it that way, but now that you're saying classifying, I'm thinking animals, zoo. That's exactly right. Yeah. They're just walking through and showing you where all the different animals are.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really cool. It was really funny. It was interesting to see because you see sexism is usually like towards women, and so kind of to see the undercurrent of it kind of turned on its head on the opposite sex. Of like minimizing to these small things, which you shouldn't do to people, but it works great in this movie. Oh, I also wanted to like in the last movie I did, there was a scene in How Stella Got Her Groove Back. There's a scene where everybody, like all the women, like take off their tops for no reason, and like we were talking about how like that happens a lot in movies, just because like. You want to keep guys entertained, so you want to keep them like interested. It's like, oh, have all the women take their tops off, and have them in the background with their tops off. But like, there's a lot of bodies in this movie, and it's all contextualized. And like, I kind of didn't notice most of the time, unless somebody was explicitly talking about it in the scene. But like watching it the second time, like looking, because I knew I would be talking about this critically, like watching for all kinds of things. Then I noticed, I was like, oh, wow, yeah. There's a lot of boobs all around all the time, and it makes sense why. They're in a strip club. Yeah. But, like, I didn't really notice the first time.
The times that I noticed were when, like, the women were enticing the men, or when a woman was changing. It wasn't just because.
Yeah, it was all functional.
There was a reason for it.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
Very respectful.
Again, for such a what could have been a very sexual movie, it wasn't sexual in that way.
Yeah,
it was. There were bodies, but they weren't presented in this like sexual way, unless the woman wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. Power, control. So they start making money, and they become better friends, and it's beautiful. And we get to see how Ramona lives, which is in this lavish apartment.
Is that real?
That apartment?
See, yeah, like, well, the apartment's real, but like her living in it because some guy's paying for it. Yeah, that's where I don't know if I was able to like accept the fantasy that I was being presented. I'm like, do that?
I believe. I mean, yeah, that's also power. Like, power dynamic is what a lot of the clients going into the strip club are looking for, is that power dynamic, right? And that control, which is like what we're seeing is like, you think at a strip club, the dudes have control of the situation, or like, right? But what we're seeing is the reality that the women do. But yeah, if a guy who has a butt ton of money wants to feel powerful and be like, yeah, I have this super hot woman who's mine, and she lives in an apartment. I got her. like a plaything kind of idea. Like that is I think I believed that, yeah, a man was paying for it. For them. It was outrageous. I can't imagine how much money that place was. That place was decadent. But yeah, Ramona, she talks about like wanting to be like a fashion designer, and she like pulls out these little swimsuits.
Swimona. Yes. That sounds like I could buy that.
Swimona. It's kind of hard to say. we'll work on the name, but yeah, there's like a denim bikini. She likes working with mixed medias. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. I especially really liked it because it made her more of an interesting character. Because it's awesome to be a powerful, cool woman. But we'd only ever really seen her through Destiny's eyes of like this incredible goddess, like, teacher. And then to see this like weird, quirky aspect about her and like, that was cool to see her in a different way of this like maybe you don't have the best ideas. And then turns out she doesn't have the best ideas, but they talk about motherhood. She talks about motherhood, and we meet her daughter, and that's also nice to get that element of her that pretty much everything that she does is for her daughter. And she says that motherhood is a mental illness. And that line was so good and so interesting. Obviously problematic, tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but it's really beautiful in the way they cut it into bring it back to the present. Immediately after she talks about being a mother, Ramona talks about being a mother, it cuts back into the frame story with Julia Stiles, Elizabeth, the reporter, and she says to Dorothy, like, oh, is that why I kept hanging out with her? Like, implying that it was because she was this mother figure you didn't have. Yeah. And that was really impactful, and that was the moment that I was like, all right, I'm in. I like this frame. It's doing something. Okay. It's neat. It is. It's like dissecting. It's taking these moments and dissecting them, which is cool to give us space and to kind of figure out what's going on in the movie. But the music again. It goes back into the story, and it's Sean Kingston's Beautiful Girls. Yes. And that is such, like, an iconic song in my memory of, like, I remember when that song was super popular, and my friends and I listened to it all the time, and, like, so that was, like, the use of, like, the popular music in the movie. I did quotation marks when I said popular for the listeners, because these are all pretty popular songs, but, like, pop songs are smart to, like, grabbing us back into the setting really quickly, and really, it was really well done. Like, I was like, oh, I know what year this is. I know what the world's like right now. And then we also get, like, at the height of all of their glory of, like, making a bunch of money, doing great at moves, Usher comes. The Usher scene. I think that was the weirdest scene out of everything in the movie. Like, the most, like, you can't imagine Usher going into a strip club in New York? No, of course I can. But, like, it was the oddest, like, in the, I guess, the grand scope. I understand that it was, like, the highest high before we hit the next part of the story, right? And it was, like, really fun to have Usher. I love Usher. I'm a massive Usher fan, and it was really cute. Also, like, all of them flipping out and stuff, and it's funny because a lot of the people that are flipping out for him are, like, his colleagues. Haha, in real life, you know? Right. And, but it was, like, kind of odd. So, I remember in the theater being like, what? How loud? Like, what's going on? But I had a good time, so I guess I'm not upset with it, but it was really weird. But it was fun, and that's great. The other, like, musician in this movie, the actor-musician, is G-Eazy. I thought the actor was great, yeah. Yeah, they were really cute at the beginning. They meet at, like, a pool party, Dorothy and Johnny, but it falls apart pretty quick. She gets pregnant, and then they can't stop fighting. Yeah, and they're not good together. And we also it's the beginning of the financial crisis. And so
And I love that because the whole time they're playing "Gimme More" by Britney Spears. Do I have to say that "Gimme More" is by Britney Spears? Or will your audience recognize "Gimme More"?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think the demographics on my podcast are pretty much knows Britney.
She's this little known artist. You wouldn't recognize her. Indie. Her hit song was "Gimme More."
Oh, man.
So good.
Yeah.
I mean, "Gimme More." Everything falling apart.
Yeah.
Because of everyone's wanting more. From the stripper to the guy in
the Wall Street guy.
And the Wall Street guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not everyone can have it all. If everyone had it all, we wouldn't have a market.
So yeah, the financial crisis happens, and they both lose their jobs. Like Ramona and Dorothy both are out of jobs. Dorothy becomes a single parent because her and Johnny break up. He bounces out. So she's trying to make it, and she tries to work in like retail, which is the worst. Working in retail is real ass, and I feel
you need experience for that.
Yeah,
apparently you need retail experience.
Yeah, that was very, very
to work in retail.
Real. That's too real about needing experience.
But they won't hire you
entry level
if you don't have retail experience.
Yes.
I think we've all found ourselves like looking at different job postings and thinking, how the hell am I supposed to do that if I don't have the experience?
Yep. And she goes to it. She starts dancing at Moves again at the club, but like everything's different now because like nobody really is there that she knew before.
You realize this is the same place that they celebrated with Usher, but it's no longer the same place.
Yeah, everything is different now.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are a lot of different girls, and they're doing like sex acts for money now, like just like obviously, like it's not an under the table sort of thing really. There's a lot more drugs, and it's just like less safe, and she doesn't want to do those things, but we do see like where she gives in to a guy who like promises her a lot of money to like, you know, perform a sexual act, and he lies to her, and instead of giving her like $300, he had $320s. He gave her $320 bills. And
then it quickly cuts into the present day of the film, and the tear just runs down her eye.
Oh yeah,
and you realize like you don't forget that she did such a good job. Of capturing like the vulnerability of this girl.
Yeah, her emoting is like undeniably realistic, and what she says, like the writing here is, she says, "You don't have to believe me. I'm used to people not believing me." That hit me. Like, I teared up in the theater when she was crying.
I think it's one of the best scenes. I get excited about the Jennifer Lopez opening, but then this piece here is also just a huge piece, I think.
Oh, yeah, because it's like, it's profound, because it's literally about, like, this moment, we only get this one moment of, like, this intense thing, but it speaks volumes about literally just everything that it happens in her life, and in like for women in general. We aren't believed. It shouldn't be a question of it's terrible that that's how she feels, but it's an accurate representation of like current what is happening in our world. And yeah, it's heartbreaking, and it was just so honest.
It's really low. It's really sad.
It's really sad. And then pretty quickly after that, we see her in the club, and Ramona comes in, like, with a guy, and they reconnect, and that's really sweet, and she, like, gets upset with her, because she's like, why didn't you, like, come to me if you needed help? Like, that's what I'm here for, and, like, that's beautiful, but then it's immediately followed up with, like, I have this new hustle, though, like, of this terrible thing I'm doing. So, because I love Ramona, and I love how much she cares genuinely, and is like taking action to help people she loves. But it's this tough dichotomy of like, you're doing bad things, though. These are like, these are really bad things.
Clearly, she's been shaped by the men she's had to work with.
Yeah.
So she doesn't see them as men.
Yeah.
She's like, they don't see her as a person. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have to see them as a person too.
Yeah, it's easier to, She has new, like, little proteges. And she's working in retail, because I guess she had experience and was able to work there.
She gets that job because of Mercedes.
Right, yeah.
Who I don't think we met yet.
No, yeah, we meet her in this, like,
I'm telling you,
scene.
I've never seen this movie. Maybe I saw it once in theater.
Kiki Palmer.
Yes,
Kiki Palmer. What an incredible...
I follow her on Instagram now because she's so lovable.
Yeah, she is. She's so genuine and sweet. And is so naive in this movie. Her boyfriend, Dragon, he's like looking at 3 to 5 years in jail. And she's trying to figure out how to get him a good lawyer and trying to plan their wedding.
Yeah.
And the whole time Ramona's like, maybe you don't want to marry this man.
Yeah, 3 to 5 years is a long time.
It's a long commitment. It's what she
good for you.
This movie is so funny.
How committed are you?
It is so funny. It's a really funny movie. So we get her, and then this is where we meet Lily Reinhart as well. That scene you were talking about. She's the stripper at Moves who her parents kicked her out when they found out she was working there, and her brothers don't talk to her anymore. Ramona says to her, it's like, oh, haven't you ever had a sister before or anything like that? And she's like, no. She's like, well, you got one now. And that's sweet.
Yeah, you can tell Ramona she wants to help them.
Yeah, exactly.
She sees that like, okay, you're going to be eaten alive if you continue.
Yeah.
If you're going to hang out within these walls and around these people, you're going to be eaten alive. I'm going to do what I can to take care of you. Because that's just who Ramona is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just as much as Ramona also doesn't see men as people. She sees them as wallets. Mm-hmm. And both of those very different,
polarizing.
Yeah, these polarizing ideas of the world are living within one individual.
Yeah, she's a complex character. She's a real woman. Like, well, obviously she's based on a real woman, but like, yeah, this is a fully fleshed out character. All of us have these weird dichotomies in ourselves, like morals that kind of don't line up sometimes and things like that. Yeah. Like that. Yeah, she's a fully realized character. It's great.
So you learn to love her and hate her.
Yeah,
she's like, or not want to root for her, not hate her. Hate her strong.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, I really like you, but I can't cheer you on right now.
You're doing bad stuff. But yeah, they introduce their hustle to Destiny, and it's where she targets rich men at bars and gets them drunk, and then laces their drinks with ketamine and MDMA, so that they forget, but they have a good time.
Oh my god.
And then they charge up their credit cards, and they've been doing it at Moves, and so Moves takes like a cut of it or whatever to let it happen there. And it's very effective. They make a lot of money. But when they're trying to figure out the drug combination, that was really
that
funny.
Scene?
Yeah. Where they're like, it's like Breaking Bad in their kitchen.
That scene is when I started to see the movie as a gangster film. When I saw Destiny and Ramona in the kitchen, and then they're playing around with the recipe, and then they put it in the oven, and it comes out, and Jennifer Lopez has a cigarette in her mouth, and she's holding it like in this really cool way, and just pulls out the tray. That moment, I was like, this is a gangster film. This isn't a stripper film. This is gangster. It's If men were doing this, a lot of people would see that.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to figure out the right formula, and they try it, and it immediately has that immediate cut of them on the ground passed out.
That was funny.
It's very funny. It made me laugh really hard. I thought that was really funny. It becomes too big of a hustle for them, and so they have to outsource, and so we meet all these other small little characters. They get on Craigslist. They find women on Craigslist to add to the hustle. And but they make a lot of money. They have this really sweet Christmas scene. They all have Christmas together at Ramona's apartment. Mm-hmm. And even Dorothy's grandmother comes. And Dorothy's grandmother is just the most lovable, sweet old woman, and everybody loves her. And she's talking about men's, and she's like, I was hot. And it's super sweet. But it's you're fully pulled out of the bad. We have all of this love and cute and family and
realness.
Yeah.
Because not once are we talking about the fact that Destiny is Asian American, that Ramona is Latina, that Kiki, that Mercedes is black, or none of that. Or, that you have an older Asian lady who's talking about, like, going up and joining the Mile High Club.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't talked about it because there's so much to talk about the characters and what they're presenting on the screen. And the actresses are just doing an amazing job of giving us all of that you realize, like, to go back to what we said in the beginning, do we see ourselves in films? We don't, because we're not given that opportunity to see diverse actors and actresses going into roles that can be universal.
Yeah, that are human, that are real, just like people.
Right.
That aren't a stereotype, a one-note thing used as like a side piece to like set up another character or something like that. Yeah, that these are like fully realized people. Yeah.
So the scene works because the movie's done it already. It has built up for that to deliver just a Christmas scene without it being a family. The nuclear family or being anything else that we've seen. But it feels so right, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is. Man, I got chills throughout this movie so many times. And I'm getting them again, like, thinking about it. Like, I do. I just, like, this movie is really lovely. They have that sweet Christmas scene, but then the next scene is them seeing that other strippers at the club have started to, like, kind of do what they're doing, like, outside of their organization, the family, kind of. And so Ramona gets upset, and so they cut moves out of the whole equation. And they just start doing it on their own and, like, bringing them back to their own houses and, like, hotel rooms and things. And it gets real shady real quick.
I wish, and this is this is where my criticism of the film comes in. I wish we would have seen, like, we would have explored more about why Ramona cuts them out. They tell you, like, oh, well, they're letting these other women copy us and take some of our clients, but okay, why? Like, do you need more money? What is it? Like, explore that more.
Yeah,
was there like a moment?
Because
the moment that they give us where she's in the car with Destiny and they see these women come in with some guy that's clearly on drugs, and she says, oh, she sees that and says, we don't need them. It didn't feel like that was enough to trigger her just completely changing how they're gonna move forward with this plan.
Yeah, it was kind of disjointed, like, thinking about it. Yeah, it was. Her motivation, too, is, like, never super clear. It's like, we know that she'd do anything to provide a good life for her daughter. So, like, okay, so she'll do anything to make a lot of money. But then kind of throw caution to the wind in this stable thing she's created, even though it's totally illegal. But it was, like,
it's stable.
Established. Yeah, it was, like, to then, like, get higher stakes with it. But also, I guess that's kind of where she's mirroring these men that she's dealt with, where it's like the stakes need to get higher and higher, like, to reach a new satisfaction level or to feel satisfied. So maybe that's kind of it. That's kind of like what I felt about it.
That makes sense. I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, I wish that would have been something they explored a little more. Just how, because Ramona is cautious. She's the best at what she does, which is managing these men and navigating this strip club. So why would she get out of that, of what she knows?
Yeah,
a well-oiled business.
Yeah it is odd. Yeah, I was just like, okay. Like, when it happened, I was like, okay, she's gonna do it by herself.
Fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So yeah, then they start to, like, it gets higher stakes because now they're in, like, not a contained area with, like, security and, like, where they know the exits and how it goes. They're in these new places, like houses and
no security guard,
hotels, and they're not protected except by each other, but you don't know these men, and it's really dangerous. And yeah, there's this dude who, like, almost dies, is, like, kind of the catalyst for, like, it all falling apart. Is, like, one of the guys, like, gets too loaded and tries to, like, jump into his pool from his roof and, like, just falls on the ground. And they have to take him to the hospital. And
they showed his penis.
They did, yeah.
I was not expecting
totally
that.
Naked.
I saw. So the first week, the first weekend the movie came out, I brought all the friends. I think that was like a Saturday when we went out. The next day, I went back to see it again, but this time it was with Steven and his parents. So the whole time I'm sitting next to his mom. And obviously, like, the strip scene was already weird. But then, like, I thought it was kind of weird to, like, be next to her with, like, these guys getting dragged. And then, obviously, this dead guy body just hanging out there.
Yeah, I could see that being uncomfortable with your partner's parents in a movie theater, too. Because, like, that's, like, the way I can kind of, like, deal with this situation is kind of, like, to, like, cut the tension, make a joke or something. But you can't really do that in a movie theater. Like, you shouldn't be talking. You're, like... So you're just gonna be uncomfortable.
This is where slowly making their way on the big screen. Slowly.
They like used to show up in like sex comedies and stuff all the time, like in the 2000s. I think
no one's ever. It's still taboo for an erect penis.
Yes, yeah, it's still
But
I'm just poking my head in because my dad also left and didn't come back.
Well, he left like right after. Like the girl, like around the stock market crash.
There's the CEO in the office, and he's got like porn on his computer.
Right.
And his assistant comes in, and my dad saw that and just didn't say a word, turned out, and left the theater.
Oh,
that was fun.
Yeah. Wow.
He's like, that's not real. He didn't say that, but we knew that's how he felt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could see people leaving this movie, but I think it's great. I think you should watch it. But yeah, so that hospital, they had to take him to the hospital, and this is like really the turn in the movie where it's like downhill. Like there's no coming back because they couldn't get a hold of Ramona for any of this, and they found out that she had been like dealing with one of the sketchy characters that they had added in. She had to like bail her out of jail. It escalates because then Dorothy has to take care of the situation, then has to go like get her daughter. She's left it with her grandmother, but she can't find her daughter when she gets home because the babysitter had to leave, and it's really nerve-wracking. It's very intense. It's a very intense scene of her searching for her daughter, finding her daughter, having to take her to school, and like there's a blood stain on her shirt from like the man, like seeing her, like the juxtaposition of like innocence with her daughter, like taking her to school, like with her outfit covered in blood and like obviously distraught, and then coming back and then also being hit with seeing that her grandmother has passed away.
Right.
Like that's why she couldn't find her, is because she had died and was in the house.
And she wasn't there for that. She wasn't there for her daughter. She wasn't there for her grandmother.
Yeah.
And that isn't that and you realize, you see the character realize that all of the hustling that they've been doing and all of the illegal activity that they were willing to accept is no longer supporting their life. It's not their loved ones.
Right.
What's the point of everything, all of that, if they're not going to be there for their child or for their grandmother?
Reality sets in hard of the situation, and it's really hard. It was really hard to watch and see. It was heartbreaking. She goes to the funeral, and Ramona like apologizes and promises that she's gonna like take care of her and make sure everything's okay. We come back to present with the interview, and she stops it. Dorothy like stops the interview at this point because they're talking about Ramona. Obviously, something has happened between them, and we don't know what it is. But she's very like upset and short when she talks about Ramona and how she doesn't want to, and automatically thinks that she's said bad things about Dorothy. Because Elizabeth reveals that she's already talked to Ramona, that she's already interviewed her. Dorothy wants to know, like, well, what did she say about me? Probably bad things. And, like, but Elizabeth reveals that no, like, she didn't say any bad things about you, but, like, tried to, like, contextualize you, like, humanize you, honestly. And, like, talked about how Dorothy had a tough childhood, and then her father left, and her mother dropped her off at her grandparents and never came back. She said that she thought that Ramona wanted Elizabeth to see that it wasn't about revenge, everything that they were doing, that it was about making friends. And it was like, yeah, it was about human connection. That's like, everything is like, that's the biggest motivator in life, kind of, really, is, like, yeah, human connection and love, right? That was really intense. And then we get the reveal of, like, Elizabeth as kind of us. Elizabeth is kind of us, the audience, where she says that, like, she doesn't feel bad for the men that, like, that were victims of, like, their hustle. But Dorothy says that she does. And so that's really interesting to see, like, that she's directly involved in it. And, like, this whole time you kind of also, you don't feel that bad for them because, like, they're bad guys for the most part. Then Elizabeth asks why they aren't friends, why Ramona and Dorothy aren't friends anymore. And that makes Dorothy stop the interview. And it's fascinating how they did this, where she stops the recorder and the audio drops out. And you can't hear anything that either of them say. And at first I was like, did the audio mess up? Like a dummy. And then I was like, no, this is art. This is really smart. This is really cool. It's so cool. It's really so cool.
You realize you were only able to hear the whole time because the recorder was on.
I know!
That is
the frame.
Yeah,
the frame finally is like, I'm dope. I've been a cool thing the whole time. I was like, you're right. And we don't get audio again until, like, Elizabeth goes home. Dorothy calls her and continues the story. It's so well done. That was so interesting. They were so cool.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Being in the theater when that happened. Yeah, you're just holding your breath like, there's no sound. Yeah. It is. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because obviously sound is so important in this movie, like music and everything. But yeah,
heels clacking.
That clack. Lizzo playing the flute. It's all so important. But so she continues the conversation, and she tells, like, kind of how, like, the crime ring pretty much was falling apart, and Ramona, she gets really, like, greedy and disconnected, I guess, kind of, like, she becomes, I guess, like a mob boss a little bit, like, not as relatable and removed and, like, not empathetic anymore. And we find out about Doug, the guy who kind of brings it all down.
And that was interesting, right? Because Doug calls the police station, and as soon as he says, I was robbed at a strip club, before he's even done, they hang up on him. Yeah. He has to call again and say, I have evidence. You can just imagine, like, the number of men that didn't make the call because they knew that no one was gonna believe them.
Well, yeah, and they were, like, ashamed or, like,
right.
Whatever, right? That's what they were banking on, is, like, taking advantage of how they perceived what they were doing, of, like, being, like, taboo or, you know, not okay. And they were taking advantage of that fact to capitalize on it, like, and man, it was bad, but it was smart.
So we've been talking about the vulnerability of these women, specifically the women that Ramona takes under her wing, but these men that were walking in through that door, not all of them were CEOs and CFOs and working in Wall Street, and there were vulnerable men who just wanted some
human connection. Which
That's
is what,
right.
is why, we get that connection between Dorothy talking about, like, or the humanizing of Dorothy of being, like, she just was looking for human connection, and then we get that right immediately after we get the story about Doug, and her saying, you know, she feels bad for the men. Yeah. And it's, like, it's because of Doug being in a similar, like, vulnerable place of, he was desperate for human connection. Yeah. And, like, I felt for him for sure. Like, he loses his job, he, like, over it, because it's, like, the corporate card or something is what they used, and he couldn't justify the transactions, and they wouldn't give him his money back, and it's really bad. But, he records their phone call where they talk about it, and then they get the junkie that's, like, in their crew, the police get her to wear a wire while they're doing one of the heists, and it brings it all down pretty immediately. Other victims they get other people to come forward too. They bring them in and give them like the plea bargain and stuff, and Ramona obviously doesn't take it, but Dorothy does, because they bring up her daughter in custody and that sort of thing. And you see the two women, like, they both get out at the same time of like the interrogation and are on the street together, and Ramona's like, we're gonna do this and this and this and this, and it's gonna be okay, blah 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 blah. And Dorothy's like, I took the deal. And Ramona gets upset. It's like, why would you ever do that? And she's like, for Lily, my daughter. And that, like, you see it in Ramona finally, that humanization come back of that understanding of like that, bringing it back to like, that's why all this started, right? That was my motivation.
Her own daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that mirror, I guess, of herself, kind of, that she saw in her. Yeah,
and she repeats that motherhood is a mental illness.
Yeah.
Which, the irrationality of their actions can be justified because of their bonds to their children and other loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Ramona goes to jail on the weekends.
I think a lot of us, I know I was surprised when the sentences come out, and it's like, it wasn't that bad.
Not that bad, yeah.
Like, these women were making a killing.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they're getting, I think maybe because only 1 or 2 men actually came out, and maybe it just wasn't a lot of money, but they weren't convicted for I don't know. Whatever they were convicted for, because I don't know what they were convicted for, just the amount of time that they had to serve wasn't a lot.
Yeah,
even some of them were probation.
Yeah.
I'm like, you get probation for a lot less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also it's like, how we feel about it too is like, the jury felt probably similarly of like, these dudes were
looking
bad
for fun,
and,
they got it.
And then, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, of us, our perception of them in the situation too. But yeah, so Elizabeth like writes her article and gets a phone call from Dorothy after it comes out and asks if Ramona like talked to her about the article or anything. And Elizabeth like lets her know that she only ever talked to Ramona one time, like only interviewed her once. She tells her about this story. Ramona tells her a story about how like her apartment got broken into at one point, and she was like, I was worried about all my stuff that mattered to me, and then I realized like all this stuff doesn't matter, and the things that do will fit in my wallet, and so I carry them with me all the time. And one of the things was this like baby photo of Dorothy that she kept, and she was like, look at her, like, how could you ever imagine like someone could abandon this child? And it's just, it's like heartbreaking and beautiful, like the love that she has for her so genuinely, and that whatever tore them apart, or it seems like it's really only Dorothy has perceived that like their relationship is like broken or whatever, because Ramona still carries this photo of her and loves her and still speaks so lovingly of her. And Elizabeth,
I think it speaks to Dorothy's character, where, I mean, they've done this before, where Dorothy for many years just doesn't reach out to Ramona, even though Ramona's never changed how she feels about her. It's Dorothy's always hesitant or unsure about the intentions of the other person, even someone like Ramona.
Yeah, it's abandonment issues.
Right.
Word I know what that's like. But yeah, it is. It's the perception of like, also like building up that wall, being like, oh, I'm gonna push you away because I know that you would do it to me, or you're gonna leave me.
Right. You're only around me because you need me right now.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's a common theme throughout, and even up to that last phone call. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
After that.
But yeah, Elizabeth tells her that she should talk to Ramona.
Yeah, maybe you should talk to her.
Yeah. And like the last line, it goes back to the interview with Ramona where she said the whole country is a strip club. You got people tossing the money and people doing the dance. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I need that monogrammed on a sweatshirt.
When you order it, let me know. I want one too.
Matching sweatshirts. This is going to be my first merchandise for the podcast.
There you go.
But, which is like so great. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. The credits are going to run. And then they don't. The weirdest part of the whole damn movie is then it cuts to all the girls together, like in Ramona's apartment.
Right,
and
yeah.
they do this weird, like, line dance.
Yeah.
Together. And then it's over.
And then you think it's over.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's another scene, and it goes back to that Usher scene.
Yeah.
And where they're dancing. I thought that should have been the last scene. After Ramona gives her last line, take it back to their height, right? To the peak of their happiness, and where they were in control. They thought they were in control of the situation, making money and helping their loved ones without doing any illegal activity.
Yeah.
Celebrating with celebrities is kind of a big deal, like, you know.
Yeah.
But instead they did that. They flipped it. They gave us that weird line dance, and then they gave us that other scene after.
Yeah. Which I like.
What did you think?
I was trying to like think about why. And I think it showed them together, these women together happy. And it was just them together happy. As opposed to like the Usher scene is like fun, but it's still like a man throwing money on all these women. Right? But this is just pure like female connection, empowerment, and joy. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. Like that's like the through line of this movie, and like the beauty that we see in it, even in this bad thing, is like these women came together to help each other and loved each other.
You know, they could have done that with a picture from the Christmas scene. Because they take a picture. You know, they take a picture. Yeah. Mom takes a picture with everyone on her new phone. Maybe if it had been just like a last shot of like of everyone there, that would have been nice. And cut out the whole last scene, that last scene with Usher. Just cut it out.
It was just an actual fun thing. Why not? But yeah, and that's it. That's the movie. It's an incredible movie.
It was fun. I own it.
I
as soon as it came out on DVD, I'm like, download.
Yeah, when I rewatched it, I was like, I could just like rent it, or I could have watched it here. And then I was like, no, I want to like own this movie. Yeah, I want to support it.
Yeah.
So I bought it. I own it now too. But yeah, the critical consensus was like super favorable. Like
crazy.
It has an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like pretty much overarchingly really good positive reviews for this. And yeah, it was written and directed by Lauren Scafaria. Is that it? Scafaria?
I say Lorraine Scafaria.
Scafaria?
Yeah.
That's probably right. I meant to like look up an interview where somebody said her name, but then I forgot to. So sorry, girl. And I was like looking up at like the production of it and like how it got made, and it was a really long process to get this movie made because the first studio, Annapurna, dropped it because of budgeting issues, and then it was like 5 years to get it picked up by another studio, and then once it did, they didn't want Lauren to direct it. She had written this screenplay, but they didn't want her to direct it. They like had these other men in mind, which Martin Scorsese was one of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it was.
So the script was that. I mean, the script is strong.
Oh yeah, right.
I mean, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, it's that's lame. They like. She was like, I'd like to direct this, please. She had been.
Is there anyone else that can direct this?
Yeah.
A man. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, we just want to look at men to direct this, and then finally be like, okay, cool. But then she, annihilated it. Did an amazing job.
And I'm so happy it did amazing at the box office, both domestically and internationally.
Yeah.
Like, it's a kind of film that you like hope like more. It sets the tone for more to come, and just like it's possible. Just a well-written movie is a well-written movie. well-directed movie is a well-directed movie. People are gonna see it. People are gonna talk well about it. People are gonna recommend it to their friends and family.
Yeah.
They're gonna share it on social media. So just don't worry about like who's gonna direct it. Don't worry about like who's gonna act in it as much as that it's gonna be a good actor, a good director, a good written film. Like focus on that, and people are gonna love it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's have some equality, and then like once everybody give everybody a damn shot, I bet they can do it.
Yeah,
obviously they can.
The talent's there.
Yeah.
Clearly the talent is there. They
talent.
just need to be given the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. The last several years have just been constant like provings of like, give people who haven't had the shot a shot. Like, representation is literally everything. Do we relate to this movie? I definitely relate to the female friendship bond and love and like difficulties like that Dorothy has with relationships and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't like see myself as any of these characters. Yeah. Maybe Lizzo. Probably Lizzo. She wasn't really a fully fleshed out character. She was just a yelling fun fat bitch that can play. I can't play the flute, but
get on it.
Yeah, better learn. But yeah, there was definitely like the emotion and the relationships I definitely felt for and could identify with. Yeah, more than anything I've watched yet, I think, out of all these movies, with all these 4 movies I've watched for this. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I could relate to any of these characters. I enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed seeing the characters grow and the different values that were presented, and just like you said, they're fleshed out characters. So it was just, as a man, as a gay man, as a Latino, like, it was just fun. It was fun to watch. I loved it. But I just didn't connect with any of the characters in that way. Yeah. And that's okay.
It is, yeah. Obviously it is. I love film. I love watching movies so much. And it's not, I don't think it is necessary. I want it. I want to have that experience, which is why I'm making this, because it seems pretty cool for the people who have had it, the experience of like being able to see themselves on screen. But yeah, it is. It's an incredible movie, and everybody should watch it for sure. Mom, watch it. I have it on Google Play now, and you have me logged in on your TV at home. So
shout out to Mom.
She listens to me. But yeah, all right, sweet. So I'll just sign off then, wrap it up, and I'll say thank you to Orlando and Steven in the other room playing his video game. Thanks for talking with me about this important piece of cinematic history, which it is. It's definitely changed the game. I think this movie has it has changed cinema in a way of like female empowerment and like what stories you can tell to make a bunch of money.
Right. It goes against everything that's out there, right? It's not a Marvel movie. It's not a superhero. It's not Pixar, Disney. It's an indie film, $20 million budget, with a diverse cast.
Exactly.
And a female director and writer. The whole world saw it. Yeah,
exactly. So I think, it is legitimately a revolutionary film. And I thank everybody for listening. I appreciate your support, and I would scheme with you any day. That's so stupid. I couldn't think of something better.
What was that? Was that the tagline?
I'll scheme with you any day.
Oh, no. Now you can't be shy with your tagline. Own it.
Yep.
We're going to work on that.
Alright, we'll work on it for the next one. But anyway, so send me some ideas for taglines, you guys. But anyway, I've been your friendly neighborhood fat friend, Allie. I'll talk at you in a couple weeks. Bye!
Bye!